So I am supposed to be talking to you guys about how far we've come and how far we've gone. And so, like Fred did earlier, I want to take you back in time a little bit to 33 years ago and tell you what I have seen change in my lifetime in this space. So let's go back to 33 years ago. Our daughter Savannah had her first seizure. We could not name it a seizure. We didn't know what it was, and we couldn't stop it. What we know now versus what we knew then is like the whole point of how far we've come. And what we don't know today and what we want to know in 10 years is the whole point of what we're doing now to move the needle forward for our loved ones and for those to come after us. We have a long way to go, but we really have come so far. So this is what we knew about seizures and epilepsy when Savannah had her first seizure. Absolutely nothing. And even as I begin to start to get educated, even the medical system didn't really know much. In fact, 70% of people living with seizures and epilepsy had something called idiopathic epilepsy, meaning, and it literally means, it's a fancy word for we don't know what causes it. And it seemed back then, 33 years ago, that no one was looking for those causes. We then got another word after seizures, epilepsy, meaning you have more than one seizure now, and you now have epilepsy. And nobody gave us this word. This word is something that we read in the chart. No doctor said it, but we finally now had a word that we can look up and try to find information on. Before, when we had seizures or we had spells or episodes, there was no information that we can gather. And then we were told this story. This whole story comes with this word epilepsy. And the story that we were told 33 years ago was, well, 3 million people have it, so you're not alone. And you can live well with it. You can be an athlete, you can be a Supreme Court justice, you could be Prince, the singer. It's not that bad. Take your medicine. You'll be fine. None of this was true. Some of the things that we were told absolutely back then proved to be absolutely wrong. Doctors would say over and over, well, seizures don't damage the brain. And yet I would go home and seizures were absolutely damaging the brain. They would say, we don't need to know the cause of seizures in order to treat it, which made no sense to me because every medicine we tried, every treatment we tried didn't work. What if we did know the cause? And they would say, you can't die from seizures. Wrong. Every one of these was wrong. And that was the state of knowledge in the space and the story that we were told. A couple of years later, when Savannah was 5, we were given another set of words, Lennox-Gastaut syndrome, or LGS. Took 3 more years to get this word. It was so poorly understood that the definition at that time had changed 4 times. So even the experts couldn't agree on what it meant. And the only thing that I could find about this syndrome, about these 3 words, was 1 half-page paragraph in John Freeman's book, Seizures and Epilepsy in Childhood, that said catastrophic, progressive, intellectual disability, and premature death. She was 5 years old. The only words that we could find. So I asked the only question that I could ask back then. What caused it? What caused it? And every scrap of information before the internet, you had to claw and scrape and bleed to find that information for every single morsel. And we began to find it, but it was so hard to find information other than you can be a Supreme Court justice or Prince or Dostoevsky, the famous writer. And then slowly, over those 30 years, everything changed. we learned that LGS evolves over time, and that was the thought that changed it all. It's not this static condition, it's this thing that evolves. And how does it evolve? It evolves from these sparks. It evolves in children with uncontrolled seizures who are seizing, and the medications and the treatments cannot stop those seizures. And then there's a moment when the brain waves, as you see on the EEG test, begin to develop these blips, these kindling, these sparks, when no seizure is happening. And that's what we begin to learn. And then, in those blips, a fire starts, and that is the LGS. What happens is a very specific region of the brain, not the whole brain, a very specific region of it is where the fire is set. And there's a lot of places in the brain that are preserved, and it evolves over time. And we begin to start asking questions. Well, how does it evolve? What is causing it? How do we stop it? How do we put out the fire? And today we have more information on that than we ever had. Today, we can actually name the spark in about 70% of people. It used to be 70% of people with LGS didn't know the cause of their initial seizures. And now we know the cause in about 70%. Increasingly, it's metabolic conditions, it's genetics, it's trauma at birth, there's a structural abnormality in the brain. It's increasingly findable. And in some cases, targeting that initial cause, even in our own Savannah, her genetic condition, can lead to a more than 90% and sometimes even 100% reduction in seizures. That is the exception. It's not the rule, but it is possible. And so that is why LGS is only part of the story. You need to know all of your diagnoses, not just LGS. What caused the initial seizures? What are the other issues that you're dealing with? And these all can be targeted to find the best possible treatment. 33 years ago, we didn't have a parachute at all. There was no LGS foundation. It wasn't until 2008 that there was one developed. The LGS Foundation was our parachute. LGS is like being pushed out of a plane against your will. It is still like that today, but nobody falls alone anymore. We do it together. We have come really far. We have a group of people that are pushing forward. We had no idea what caused LGS. We weren't even talking about it. We didn't know it evolved. We didn't know where this fire was happening and where it came from, but we know now. And we're going after it. We're changing it. And that is true. We have come so far. And the other half of that truth is that we still lose our kids and our adults. With more than 90% of those with LGS living with intellectual disability and cognitive impairment, there's an 8 times higher risk of mortality. And so we've now named the work we have ahead. We want a different future for the loved ones that are here and the loved ones to come. And that is why we have gone after these 3 grand challenges that Fred mentioned in his talk. If you guys can get a faster and a whole diagnosis, everything, come to Workshop A today in the first session. Targeted treatments can be made for the very specific things you had, for your seizure types, for your epilepsy type, for your syndrome, for all of the comorbidities your loved one is dealing with, behaviors, issues with sedation and sleepiness. It's not perfect care, but it's the best care we have to offer right now. And it's only going to get better as we start to really target treatments towards the individual with LGS and not simply the single symptom of seizures. That is our first challenge. That is the destination ahead. And that is how we want the world to look different 10 years from now. The second is treatments that actually change the disease. We want to put water on the fire. The seizures are originating in the same place in every LGS patient, the tonic seizure specifically. How do we put out that fire? We have scientists working hard on that to get a disease-modifying therapy. And then how do we get care for every stage of life? Why is it that our children fall off a cliff when they become adults? Every bad thing I said about pediatric care when Savannah was in it, I take it all back, because adult care, you win. It's worse. And I don't want that for any of you in this room. We, as this foundation, do not want that for any of your room. And so these are the challenges that we're going after. And the way that we're going to change that is through you sharing your data, the information that you guys have about how to live with this disease. It will allow us to learn from every patient. Please sign up and share your data. Helen is here, our research director. Sign up for our course study. You can learn about it in the room. Tell your story. Every story that you tell to another family in this room or on the internet changes their lives and their trajectory. And together, we are going to change the future. Where we go next isn't written yet. We've set these destinations, these 3 grand challenges: better care, disease-modifying therapies that will help our children to live long and full lives. What we do today and tomorrow and the next day is what writes that future for us. For our loved ones. For your loved ones. There are so many, Evangeline, Matthew, so many here that still come even though we've lost our loved ones, to fight for a better future for all of you and for all the ones that are living. I do not want to live in a world without all of these beautiful souls. What I want is less devastation and suffering. Thank you.